Alright, welcome back to my countdown. Let's get going. Today, we're counting down number 80 to 71. And my number 80 game on the list of games that I really enjoy is Pandemic Cthulhu. This is basically Pandemic, but of course, it's set in the Cthulhu universe. Oh my god, this lid is hard to get off. But there we go. This rule book coming in the game. Does a pretty good job explaining how everything works. And then you got your map of different Lovecraftian towns. Of course, the Pandemic board, and boom, there we go. And then we'll take a closer look at some of the components. Got some cool miniatures and lots of cards and things to check out. And once I change my battery, we'll come right back and take a look at this. Alright, so in this game you're basically trying to stop Cthulhu from showing up and eating everybody's brains. So there's the final card, the Cthulhu card. And then there's a whole bunch of other ones in here. You got Nyarlathotep, you got Ithaquah, you got Shabnira, Sagwa, Haster, Azathoth, Dagon, Shudmel, Yugg-Sothoth, Yig. Lots and lots. And you don't use all of these in every game. And then the miniatures are really cool. So you got your little Shoggoths here, representing the big baddies. And then you have a whole pile of cultists running around the board, trying to cause problems. Get nice player aids that come with the game, tell you all the things you can do, and what all the symbols mean. And then, all the cards in the game. So there's some special artifacts you can find. And then there's, of course, the cards that tell you where the stuff happens. It's basically Pandemic, but it's Cthulhu. And even the miniatures are actually really nice. If you're into painting, they would actually paint up really good. Get 2, 4, 6, 7 different investigators you can play in the game. So there you go. That's my number 80 on my countdown. And that is Pandemic Cthulhu. Alright, and coming in at number 79 on my list of games that I really enjoy that I have and played is Escape from 100 million BC. Now, this box is jam-packed with stuff. The gist is you've gone back in time in your time machine, but you broke it. You broke the thing. So you got to get back to the future, I guess. So yeah, and basically this is the rule book, which is nice. I was going to show you the game board in here instead of trying to unfold it all. Where is it? Where is it? They do show you, there's the game board here, which looks kind of plain, but it's a time tracker. You've got all kinds of hexagons, so you're going to be flipping these over as you explore. There's all kinds of cards, items, and weapons, and things that you can find because they came through the time rift. You're going to be meeting different people as well as you go through the time. You could meet Abraham Lincoln, Daniel Boone, all kinds of people. You got all kinds of chunky dice to chuck, and you'll be doing that quite a bit. More different tokens, different characters, and yes, you'll be running into dinosaurs because you're at 100 million BC. The gist of the game is you've got to get back to the future by fixing your time machine before the time rift is so bad that everything is destroyed. So this is kind of your tracker for that. And you can be the reporter, the botanist, the soldier, the investor, the research assistant, or the paleontologist. So this is my number 79 game. I enjoy my list, and that is Escape from 100 million BC. Alright, coming in today at number 78, and I will say I have done playthroughs, I do believe, of all of the games you're going to see here today on my list. If you want to check them out, just do a search. My name, the board game, you'll find it if you want to check it out. So my number 78 on the list is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the board game. Let's have a look at this one. And basically the gist of this is there's a whole bunch of, this was a printed out little explanation sheet. Get yourself your rule book. The art, really, really nice. And I do have the Friends in Front of Me's expansion as well. So the board, once again, the board is basically Sunnydale. And it comes in a couple of chunks. So you got these huge boards with different locations that you're trying to defend. You've got a ton of cards in the game. You've got artifacts you can find. You have, of course, characters you can play. I think Friends in Front of Me's. You've got Oz, special abilities. You have the big bads, which are, so you can play against Dark Willow. There's all kinds of cool stuff here. And let's see, yeah, there's tons and tons of tokens. So, with the expansion, you can play Oz, you can play Tara, you can play Faith, you can play Angel, you can play Buffy, Rupert, Riley, Spike, Xander, Willow, Anya, Summer. It just goes on and on. It goes on and on. But So the gist is there are 3 basically mini evils that you have to vanquish, and then there's a whole pile of big bads like Dark Willow or Angel or Drusilla and Spike, which I've played. So basically these are your event cards that come up. You've got classified military action cards. There's a lot in this game, and it's actually a puzzly little bit of a game, but it's a lot of fun. I've done it on my channel a few times now. Check that out. So this is my number 78 on my countdown, and that is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the board game. One little thing is, as far as I know, the actors themselves had to okay the artwork for their characters. It's pretty cool. All right, number 78, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And coming in at number 77 on my list is Doom, the 2nd edition. Let's take a look at this bad boy. Put the lid off of there. And yes, we have the rule book. I think there's a learn to play, operation guide, rules reference. So there you go. And yes indeed, it comes with an absolute ton of really high detailed and cool miniatures. And of course the gray ones are removed. I'm not sure how easily you can see that. So basically it comes with a whole ton of tokens, and of course these special dice for shooting the bad guys and having the bad guys shoot you. And there's a whole bunch of cards for different enemies, how they activate, etc. And you have little tactician cards and such for your Marines. Now, how does this game work? Well, every scenario you're putting together a map from all these different tiles and then playing out a scenario. So, scenario-based game. So if you take a look at one of the operations in here, it'll show you what you have to do. So you set the map up a la this. It gives you what you need to do, and so forth. So basically you're playing a bunch of Marines. You're trying to take out all the enemies, complete your objectives. And of course the enemies are trying to wipe you out a certain amount of time. So that's my number 77 game on my list. That is Doom 2nd edition. And I lied earlier. I said I had videos of playthroughs of everything on my list today. That is not true, because number 76 I have not done a playthrough of yet. I probably will. I don't know when. And my number 76 game is Mage Knight. This is a very thinky game. Excuse the box. And I have a couple of the expansions. I have the Crag expansion. I thought I had an I've Lost Legion expansion. Anyway, it gives you a walkthrough. It does a really good job of explaining how to play the game. There is an absolute ton of stuff. So I have baggied up all of the different characters and all of their chits for leveling up. And as you can see, there's lots of them. And they have cool little miniatures that come with them as well. And there's Crag. So yeah, this is, like I said, a very thinky game. And there's all of the castles and stuff that you'll run to. And the big bad from the Legion expansion. A mountain of tokens, round tokens that have to do with everything you find on the board. It's a modular game, so you build the board out of these tiles, and then you go adventuring and such. You level up, and yeah, it's a beast. It's a beast of a game. It's a very thinky game. It's a very good game, and I will do it on my channel at some point in time, but it's a brain burner. So, yeah, there you go. So that's my number 76 on my list, and that will be Mage Knight. Making its way to number 75 on my list. It's a great worker placement game I really enjoy, and that is Lords of Waterdeep. And yes, I have the Skull expansion as well. And oh man, another relatively large beast of a game. Takes up a lot of table space. You're trying to get the most victory points. You can kind of see the board here. It's a worker placement. You have different locations to put out your meeples. And you're trying to complete quests and such. It's a D&D Dungeons and Dragons themed worker placement game. So really cool. These are your player mats you get. It can be different factions in the game. There's a whole pile of really nice components that come in the game. And basically cubes, but there's an upgrade for this game as well, where instead of having an orange cube, I think these are they wizards? White ones are wizards. You get little wizard meeples. So I've not gotten that. And there are a ton of cards and such in the game. So, and lots of tokens for buildings that you build, which turn out to be worker placement locations. Very, very cool game. So that is my number 75 on my list, and that will be Lords of Waterdeep. And coming in at number 74 on my countdown is Roll for the Galaxy. Now, this, of course, came after Race for the Galaxy, which I've played. I do like Roll for the Galaxy better, and I have the expansion as well. So, you're basically building your galactic empire with a whole bunch of chips and things. And yes, because it's Roll for the Galaxy, there's 1 or 2 dice in the game. Yeah, and this is with the expansion as well. So there's an absolute ton of dice. There's all kinds of starting worlds that you can go with, and it's 5 players. And you're pulling out little chips in the bag. They're double-sided. They're either productions or worlds. You get your little colored cup. Yeah, and there's a screen here that's got everything on the back that you need to know. And there you have it. You're basically getting the most points at the end of the game to win, and that is my number 74, Roll for the Galaxy. And coming in at number 73 on my list is Atlantis Rising, 2nd edition. Beautiful artwork, beautiful components. Basically a worker placement game where you are trying to build the gate to get out of here before the island of Atlantis sinks beneath the waves and everybody perishes. So there's really nice components. I've done a playthrough of this recently on my channel. We've got a bunch of different people to play, beautiful tiles in the game, and you've got to build components, roll dice, and yeah, it's basically it. I did a playthrough very recently if you want to check it out. That's my number 73 on my list, and that is Atlantis Rising, 2nd edition. Okay, coming in at 72, the second last game on my list for today. Number 72, and that will be Battle Lore 2nd edition. Yes, I have everything for this game. I got sucked right into it when it first came out. I don't even know how many years ago now. It's basically a head-to-head battle game on a hexagon map. And yes, I have the expansions which came with extra units. I have the Undead expansion, which isn't in this box. I got it in a separate box. So you get unique dice that you roll, have different symbols on it, doing different things, lots of different tokens. So it's basically a victory point game. You're trying to get as many victory points. At the end, there's scenarios to play. Of course, you have the boss, whoops, and yes, the miniatures are kind of coming apart a little bit. That's okay. And anyway, speaking of miniatures, there are an absolute ton. And this is just the Warband Star Herncard. So yeah, you get a ton of miniatures. Like I said, hexagon map, you end up having, there are cards to play, mana cards, all different types for the different factions. There are setup cards that you set up your half of the game board, and the other player sets up their half. And yeah, there's just a ton of stuff. So here's one of the units, Ruin Golems. Elite units, it gives you the information on them, etc., etc. So it's basically a head-to-head battle game where you play your cards and try and take out the other character, claiming victory points on the map to try and win. So yeah, lots and lots of hexes that you use to build the map with, based on the setup and scenarios. Yeah, a ton of stuff in this game. Head-to-head, battle on a map, card playing, and that is my number 72, Battle Lore 2nd edition. And finally, last up for today, number 71 on my list, is the Dungeons & Dragons Castle Ravenloft board game. Alright, how does this work? Well, I've done this many times on my channel. We're up to, actually, I've done 6 adventures on my channel. We're on to 7 next. It is basically, you have a start tile, pretty much, with little squares on it, and then you will face off against maybe a Dracolich at the end, or Count Strahd, basic enemy. So you basically build the board modularly, flipping over tiles, and black ones you're pulling event cards and such, and the white ones you are not. So you're going to go ahead and build the modular board as you play along. All kinds of conditions. You can be dazed. And there's just an absolute ton of stuff in here. And I've also thrown the Dungeon Command miniatures into the fray as well. So there are characters you can play: Dragonborn Fighter, Alyssa, Imrel, Cat, Thorgrim, and these are really thick cardboard pieces. And so you've got monsters you can run into, like the Blazing Skeleton, and all kinds of things. These are from the Dungeon Command expansions. And encounters you can run into, like an alarm or an illusory trick. Very, very cool stuff. Not a very complicated game, but it's very difficult to play and win. So here's your fighter character abilities: brute strikes, stuff like that. I think it was based off the Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition that nobody really liked. So treasures, you got like heroic stand, you've got burst of speed, you got short rests, you got wand of teleportations, all kinds of stuff. So much stuff in the box, which is actually quite fun to play. So that's my number 71, and ending off my list for today, for this week, Castle Ravenloft, number 71, the board game, the Dungeons & Dragons system.